What's up, everybody? This is Connor and Joshua with Chamber One Tactical. We've got a really interesting video for you guys today. Interesting because we actually were very surprised with the way that this gun performed. We actually have the Shadow Systems MR920, which I was very impressed with, and we've been very impressed with a lot of guns. But this one really, for a long time, I've not really cared too much about Shadow Systems. We've never owned one. So I've never really cared too much about them, but very, very impressed with this gun. But this gun is the optic cut version. It is not a threaded barrel. It's kind of getting close to their standard gun. It's got this little nice wristband that Joshua wanted you guys to see that's got America on it.
It came with it on. You have to review it the way it came.
So we're going to take that off. But
they were patriotic with it.
I'm fine with patriotic. But we're actually going to let Joshua start this one off.
Oh, sweet.
Just to start nice.
off. Okay, guys. So just to start off with, I guess I'll start with the sights. So with the rear sight, it is phenomenal. So it tapers up and helps funnel your eye towards that front sight. And you wouldn't think it's actually that big a deal till you actually have a gun with that.
Yeah.
And it really does help. So it's blacked out rear. It's got those little cuts to help out with the reflection of the sun, and it funnels it towards the front sight. Now, the front sight is nothing to write home about. It's nothing special. It's just a white dot. I would personally, because this is kind of a carry size gun, would like to either see a tritium night sight or a fiber optic. But overall, it wasn't. Oh. Well, Connor, I think we have a loose front sight.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very loose. Huh. About to fall off. Looks like. Okay.
Hey, so every time I missed, it was because of that. Connor, you look like the ATF agent that can't take a Glock apart. Come on.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's a little interesting. Yeah, that thing's almost backed out completely.
Well,
okay.
Guess I got to get my Glock tool and my Loctite out.
Yep.
Well, hey, it does come with Loctite in the bag, so maybe that's why.
So crazy enough, we did not
notice that
until right now.
Wow.
You guys are seeing it here live.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they make it easier for you so you can swap out a night sight.
Now, to be fair, I don't think this is uncommon in Glock sights like this. Now the ones that they Glock style sights. The ones that they actually dovetail in, you won't see that issue. But I mean, it's moving a lot. It's about the screw is really about to back all the way out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. But getting back to what Joshua was talking about, I 100% agree. The rear sights, the way they taper up, this is exactly what I like to see from sights. Blacked out rear, we've actually talked about this in a different video about how CZ does that on their competition guns. Really like the rear sight, and I would actually agree with you on the front sight. We shoot at white steel or painted white steel, so for our use of the gun, for the most part, it does kind of get lost in the white of the steel, especially when you start getting on those smaller targets that it's almost taking up the entire target. It does kind of get a little tricky to find out where you're at. But other than that, I actually really like the sights. I love that they're metal. They actually seem to be a good bit taller than standard sights.
If you were to put a red dot on there, you could probably co-witness.
That's what I would assume that's what that's for.
Yep.
But really, really like the gun. Now we'll move into kind of getting to the slide. I really liked the coating on the slide. I liked the finish of it. It's kind of that matte finish. The front cocking serrations are very, very easy to use. It's kind of interesting how they did it. It gradually tapers out and creates a little bit of a shelf right there that just grabs onto your hands real, real well. It kind of reminds me of the Echelon.
A little bit.
What they did with that. It's a little different.
It's not as extreme, but yes.
But it's very easy to use, and the rear cocking serrations are great as well. I think they did a great job utilizing the space that you have on a somewhat smaller handgun to be able to get you to where you really use those cocking serrations.
Yeah, and I think it actually looks really, really good on the gun.
Yeah.
It's a very nice looking gun. And then, of course, the barrel's just your standard Glock 19 barrel. I guess there's nothing really crazy about it. But it doesn't have much wear on the barrel, considering how many rounds do you think we've put through it?
I think we put more through this one than we usually do, just because we're having so much fun with it.
Yeah, we wanted to stop, but when you have a ammo can and you have a gun that shoots really well, you just want to keep going.
Yeah, we're probably closer to 500 rounds on this gun, where we normally try to stick to around 200.
Yeah.
A
For the
little over
first
200.
shots.
We're
Yeah.
probably closer to 500 right now. And that's one thing to say to you guys that are somewhat new shooters. Don't put all your ammo into one big bin, because then you don't know how many boxes of ammo you're going through.
Yeah.
You're just shooting, and
You
you
just see
can't.
your ammo can get lower and lower and lower.
So maybe that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Keep it in box form if you're wanting to save some money.
Yeah.
But kind of moving on to the frame itself. I actually really liked the frame. I loved the stippling that they did on the frame. I think this is probably, in my opinion, now this is obviously opinion, one of the best Glock style handguns as far as texturing and as far as the way that they did this little beaver tail back here. Why Glock hasn't fixed this?
Yes.
Because Joshua's big old fat
I have scars.
gorilla hands, or whatever you want to call them things. It's not that he has giant hands; they're just fat. He has fat hands.
So, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
When he grabs up on that the handgun, it really pushes
on
this
Glock,
this fat part right here, all this fat right here, and
show him your fat.
But he always gets Glock bite. I've never got Glock bite, but he gets it a good bit.
That's because I carry a Glock. My duty belt's a Glock.
That's true.
Yours is the Echelon.
But I actually really we actually talked about how this beaver tail in the end, it does more than you would expect.
Yeah.
While shooting the gun, it just really allows you to drive your hand up way high up into the back of that frame and get you a really good grip. Like I said, the stippling I've been very impressed with. This is probably as good as you can get without going aftermarket and having somebody do a full-on stipple job. I mean, this was really, really good. And then having that little shelf right there for your thumb, your support hand, it just helps you drive the pistol out and really, wrench down, vice down on the handgun. So very impressed. And this gun, I will say, I know you're about to talk, but
no, yeah, you're good.
This gun did come with 2 other back straps and the tool to get that out. So you do have a little bit of adjusting there. If you got bigger or smaller hands, you can change it, which is nice.
Yep. And I would say, just touching on what he was talking about, the stippling up here for your pointer finger and also for your thumb, it makes it very repeatable. So a lot of times with Glock angle, people say to point with your thumb. So as you point it out, you're going to point with your thumb. And just having that texture there for your thumb every single time makes it repeatable when you're drawing and pointing at the target, or out of the holster.
Yeah.
What this kind of reminds me of, Connor, is actually the polymer 80s that you can build. The stippling is very similar.
You're right.
And I know a lot of times people think of polymer 80s as, they're kind of cheap. Yes, they allow you to build a cheap gun, but their stippling on polymer 80 frames are very good.
It's excellent.
So even the color, kind of reminds me of a polymer 80, but I was very impressed with the stippling over a Glock. And I think eventually we're going to do a video comparing this to just a standard Glock 19.
Yeah.
Or the standard Glock 45, because that's what we have.
That's what we got.
I think we will eventually do a comparison, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's not really enough words to say how good this really is for all the other products that you have coming out right now.
Yeah.
But moving on, the mag release is nothing special. It does have a little bit it's just a little plastic mag release. It works. Never have any issues with it.
Doesn't fall out like a Kimber.
Yeah. Oh man. But it does work. It's not anything that's to write home about. It's just it's a mag release. But moving on to what I think is actually a very impressive part of the gun is the trigger. The trigger on here in dry fire, it doesn't feel super great like you would. It doesn't feel like a Timney, right? If you were to compare it, let's just say a Timney, it doesn't feel like a Timney, but in actual shooting, we both would get done shooting and we would just smile at each other at how well this gun shot. Not anything weird. We would just smile at how well we were able to shoot this gun with just putting a few hundred rounds. So I mean, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But the trigger is pretty much exactly what you'd want. It's not anything super heavy. You're probably looking at the 4 to 4.5 pound trigger, very smooth, nothing gritty. And the reset is exactly what you want.
Yep.
What we've talked about a lot on a lot of these handguns is a trigger that on the reset is pushing your finger back out. You're not having to take your finger out way off the trigger. It's driving your finger forward so that you can get right back on the wall and pull the trigger again. And that's exactly what this trigger has done. Very impressed with it. I really like the way it works, and you guys can see there's the little bit of take up, and then there's the brake, and there's a little bit of mush in between the wall. There's driving your finger out, and then there's the brake again. But again, shooting the gun to me felt different than dry fire. It really shot well. The trigger just did
and
really
I can
well.
say, even in dry fire as of right now, it has gotten so much smoother and so much better than when we first got it out of the box.
That's
which
true.
is what you typically see for striker fired pistols.
Yep.
But this one especially. But yeah, I mean, compared to a Gen 5 Glock 19, the trigger, this one is a little bit better. It's
Hands
not like
down,
it's not like crazy, you know. There's not a huge difference, but it's enough to make it noticeable.
Yeah, you're not going like aftermarket, like I said, Timney trigger.
Yeah.
But you are getting out of the box way better performance, in my opinion, than what you're getting from a standard Glock.
And I think where this trigger makes it up, which might be a little bit better than the Glock, is more in the reset than the actual trigger pull. The reset on it's actually pretty short, pretty tactile, and it pushes it forward.
I also think it's the trigger shoe itself.
Yeah, it's got a cool shape to it.
You know, the shoe, it's not exactly flat faced. It's not flat. It still has a curve to it, but it's getting as close as you can get to flat face without it being 100%, 90 degree.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't have that center dingus that is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. If it sticks out a little too far, it becomes a hot spot on your finger. This takes up a whole lot more surface area, and it kind of distributes that friction that puts on your finger.
Yep.
But and the one thing I did want to, I think we kind of skipped it, but on the frame, the actual slide stop slide release, it's going back to kind of the Echelon. What we liked about the Echelon slide stop slide release. This one's going to be a little bit more low profile, but they did put a polymer mold around that so that while shooting, your hand's not going to interfere with either holding the slide open on the last round or locking it open on accident as you're shooting. And we didn't really have that issue at all. So glad to see something like that, because I think that's something that more shooters are realizing sometimes can be an issue.
Yeah.
But real quick, I did want to run through other things that were in the box. Obviously, this is the optic cut version, so you do get some screws and the spacers that go with the different optics, because you can put a few different optics on this gun. And then you do get two PMags, which that was actually something I was excited to test, was the PMags, because we haven't really done any test on PMags, and to this point, we have no issues with them so far.
Yeah, I know they have mixed reviews, but we didn't have any issues with them.
Not at all.
And
really.
It also ran fine with the Glock mags.
I will say they
feel cheaper.
They feel cheaper.
Yeah.
But I'm all for, it's lighter, I think, than a Glock mag.
And we also did test the ETS mags as well.
Yeah.
And it worked in
fine.
The firearm as well.
Yeah. Not that anybody's going to trust their life with an ETS mag, just saying. Like I wouldn't. We've seen people that have had issues, and we've had guns that have had issues with them.
That's true.
But
that's true.
They're fun, just running out and using them, and they make them big old stick mags that you can put there.
Well, now they have the new one with the metal reinforced. Yeah. We haven't tried those yet.
That's true. We should get some of those. But real impressed with the gun. Everything, pretty much everything about it. I really don't, other than the wobbly sight now. We really didn't have any issues with the gun. I was happy with the way it came out. It's a great looking gun for one. I know not everything's about looks, but sick little gun. I think everything aesthetically, they did a really good job on. And like I said, the performance was what obviously matters. And again, no malfunctions. Accuracy was great, even with a floppy sight, now that we know. But just a really, really good option. And I think we picked this gun up for what?
It was $549.
So it was on sale, I think, for $549. So a really good deal, in my opinion, as of right now.
But I say comfortably you could pick those up for around $600.
$600,
right?
Yeah.
And so if you're going out and purchasing a carry pistol, would you recommend that pistol, or would you recommend just a Glock 19 tool?
Between the two?
Yeah, between the two.
Oh, I would 100% go with this.
And why is that?
I mean, for one, like we already talked about, the triggers, in my opinion, much better on this gun. I can shoot this gun better. Something about this beaver tail has helped me mitigate recoil.
They did a great job with that.
It's just, this gun was so flat shooting. We actually tested it with, just real quick in our own time, we went and tested it with a gun that we had a comp on, a micro comp, and this gun was just it may not be the muzzle flip. It's just the fact that you can get such a hold on the gun where that other gun it was a Thesis, what was that, PX9, where the slide is sitting a good bit more over your hand.
And it's a slippery grip and stuff like that.
Even with that little compensator on there, this gun still you were able to just drive that muzzle down so well. So, but yeah, I mean, in my opinion, for the money, I think this is a really good option. I personally would skip over the Glock and go straight here. And I could be wrong on this, so don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure, isn't it Shadow Systems that if you were to use your firearm in a self-defense situation and then it get taken, they actually send you a gun to use.
It might be them.
I think it is Shadow Systems, which, we'll double check on that and we'll put it out in the comments. If we're wrong, we'll let you guys know about that. But I'm pretty sure it's Shadow Systems. If your gun is taken, if you were to use it in a self-defense situation, they'll actually send you a gun to have until you get your gun back, which I think is awesome. Cool. America.
Yeah. See, that's why they put the little American flag right there on that little band.
So I really like that. I think it's a good company that's sitting behind it. There's a lot of cool products coming out from Shadow Systems. We actually hope, because we have purchased this gun, we hope to get more products to be able to test, because from what I've seen, I've been very impressed. But I know you asked me the question. I would choose that. What do you think you would choose?
So how much would a standard Glock 19 cost these days?
I mean, for a 5th gen, which I think is the first.
Yeah, this is comparable
5th gen. I think it's $549.
$549.
But that's what if you get a optics cut, you're looking at, I believe it's either $600 to $650. So that gun at its normal price and a Glock at its normal price are probably going to be exactly
pretty much
comparable.
The same price,
right?
Oh, then I'd go with this all day long. It's an upgraded Glock.
Right.
The stippling is better. The trigger is a little bit better. The slide durations, the sights are better. The only thing that I would say it is not better than a Glock is the mag. But I mean, they don't make the mag. I'm sure they have deals with PMags and stuff like that. So, but that's the only thing that I would say is not better than a Glock. Everything else is better than a Glock.
Well, and their optic system 100% is better than the MOS system, hands down. So, but that's just our opinion. You guys can take.
Yeah, we'll do a comparison. With the Glock later.
That's what's important to us, is not just to give you the information, but to prove to you why. Not prove to you, but to show you why we're saying what we're saying.
Exactly.
But we're very excited to run this gun through its courses and see if we do have any other if we have any other issues other than the sight. We'd love to throw a sight on here and show you guys how that optic system works and everything. So if you guys would like to see any other kind of content or any other guns for us to review, any gear, anything like that, if you have any questions, drop that down in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.